Is Stephen Amell an actual scab? Has he violated the guidelines of the SAG after strike and promoted some of his work that is considered struck work or talked about stuff that he's done in the past at live conventions and on social media? Well, he's actually responded to all of this. What's up everyone, my name is Eric. We're gonna talk about all of this and more in today's video. If you're enjoying this content, please hit the subscribe button and become part of the Erickverse. Leave a like on this video and leave a comment down below. With that being said, let's get into it. So in case you guys are unaware, yesterday some news came out that at GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina, Stephen Amell on a panel responded to questions about his thoughts on the current strike. And his response did not go over the way he expected it to. To paraphrase here, he called the strike reductive, myopic, and frustrating. And although he does support the union, he does not support the strike. If you'd like to know more about this in detail, you can click right here in the corner and go check that video out. But if not, let's go ahead and jump into Stephen Amell's actual response to all of this controversy on Instagram. Now, I know this is hard to read, so I'm gonna read it out loud for everyone so you can hear his full thoughts and opinions here. Tried to blow it up a little bit here, but it's not too good. Anyway, let's go through this. So he says, please read below as I thought it was important to clarify comments I made this weekend. He's talking about the comments he made at GalaxyCon about the strike. He goes, understandably, there's been a lot of reaction to the comments I made this weekend about our strike. To ensure there's no misunderstanding about my thoughts and intentions, I'm providing what I actually said and with clarity and context to ensure my feelings aren't unintentionally misrepresented. We all know sound bites can be taken out of context, and I have too much respect for my fellow union members to not clarify the record. What I actually said: 1. I support my union, I do, and I stand with them. This doesn't need much clarity. My support is unconditional and I stand with them. Or what I actually said too, I do not support striking. I don't, and that is true. In the video that we looked at yesterday, he did state that he supports a union, but he does not support striking. However, it gets a little messy. We'll talk about that in a second. He goes here, what this means in full context. I understand fundamentally why we're here. My off-the-cuff use of the word support is clearly contradictory to my true feelings in my empathetic statement that I stand with the union. Of course, I don't like striking. Nobody does, but we do what we have to do. Okay, I'm gonna say here, I don't believe that. The reason why I don't believe that is that sounds to me like he doesn't like the concept of having to strike, right? But that's not what he was conveying at the convention. He could argue that's what he meant, but I don't personally believe that. He goes, what I said 3, I think that it is a reductive negotiating tactic that I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating. In full context, I'm an actor and I was speaking extemporaneously. That's a big word, basically meaning he said it in the spur of the moment, like on the fly, for over an hour. I emote, but I certainly don't think these issues are simple. Our leadership has an incredibly complicated job, and I'm grateful for all that they do, despite some of my terrible early acting work. I assure you, I'm not a robot. From an intellectual perspective, I understand why we're striking, but that doesn't mean it isn't emotionally frustrating on many levels for all involved. And then he continues here in the comments. Before we get into that though, I do want to say this. So far, this sounds like a PR thing. This sounds like someone on his team told him, you need to get ahead of this right now. And there is proof that he tried to cover up some of his activities on his social media that may have been seen as scabbing or crossing the line. Again, speculatory. I'm not accusing anything. We're going to look at all this stuff here, so hold tight for that. I think to thinking as it pertains to shows like the show that I'm on that premiered last night, I think it is myopic. What I meant, nothing about the strike is funny, but if I may self-deprecate for a moment, I have no clue to what I was trying to say here, and who says I think that thinking. Perhaps it was an inarticulate shout out to our crew and cast who mean the world to me. I'm simply sad that we don't have a chance to celebrate a show that all of us figuratively and I literally broke my back for. And I get that, I do, honestly. I am pretty sure that you guys worked really, really hard. Like I said, actors, writers, creatives in the space are the ones that make these shows happen. However, you are not the only person in Hollywood who has stuff premiering that you would like to talk about. The point is that everybody in the union has to sort of give up something for the greater good. You have to put away personal feelings about things when it comes to projects for the support of people who may not be working at the moment. That's the whole point. I get what he's saying here, but this doesn't change the fact that that is not the move for someone who is supportive of the union. It's just not. He goes, as I said from the jump, and I want to ensure my thoughts and intentions are not misconstrued, the situation reminds me of the proverb, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, which apparently, after reading a limited amount of the commentary, is a place many of you would like for me to visit. However, at least for the foreseeable future, I choose to stand with my union. When you see me on a picket line, please don't whip any hard fruit. Okay. So far, sounds to me like he is saying, look, I don't like striking. However, I don't believe in going against the union and the faith of the union. And that would be really good if it weren't for the fact that there is literal proof of him since the beginning of the strike promoting work and doing things that are anti-ethical to what the union is asking them to do. I have a couple of things I want to look at here. We're going to give credit to the people that shared it. And then we're going to sort of talk about that. And I'm going to leave you guys with my thoughts and what could happen moving forward with this situation. All right, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is a tweet from Being Janine here on Twitter/X. It said, SAG-AFTRA strike was called on July 13th. This was posted from Montreal Comic-Con on July 15th. So this was 2 days after the strike was called, and this is Stephen Amell and David Ramsey. And I'm actually a little bit kind of like, why was David Ramsey also cheering this on? But we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, let's listen to this, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on it.
About David, we can talk about me. We can talk about Canada. But we can't talk about Arrow. What? You know what? Let's just fuck this. Yeah, fuck it, right? Let's go. Let's just go.
Okay, so here is Stephen Amell and David Ramsey at a convention, commenting that they understand the rules with SAG. They understand the situation with the strike, that they're not supposed to talk about struck work, past, current, future work. They're not supposed to do it. I see a lot of people saying, oh, but the strike had only been out for a couple days. The rules hadn't been posted. But he says here, with his own volition there, that he understands he's not supposed to do it. But he's like, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. And then David Ramsey sort of cheers it on as well. And yeah, I don't know what went on to happen at this convention. We just have this one clip, again, out of context. But I think it's important to note that he says here, unless he was joking, and there's another clip that shows that he's joking, is that he's going to do what he wants to do. He doesn't care that they can't talk about stuff. And yeah. All right, here's another bit. And this is from K for Trends on Twitter. And this was in response to the article yesterday about Deadline, where it says, talks about Stephen Amell's comments about the strike. And then he says, why didn't you mention all the scabbing, or they mentioned, why didn't you mention all the scabbing he did across social media over the weekend? And it shows here, there's some pictures and screenshots from the video, but let's take a look at this video.
Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning from the Sunset Strip. Obviously, this is a very, very strange and peculiar time that we are all living in within our industry. But I just want to say that as an actor, it means a great deal to me when I work really hard on something. When I work really, really hard on something, it doesn't really ever feel real. It doesn't feel validated. It doesn't feel as though you put a period on the sentence until you're able to share it with the world. So I'm very happy for today. I'm very thankful. I have a lot of gratitude. And yeah, it's a strange time that we're existing in at the moment, but I'm allowed to be proud of work. I'm allowed to be very proud of work.
All right, so let's take all that into perspective. We saw the clip from the Comic-Con earlier this month. This is from this past weekend, which has been scrubbed from his social media, probably because he knew that he shouldn't be doing it, and therefore he didn't want anyone to. The internet is forever. You put stuff out. You always take a chance on something, sticking around and being out there. And so, he knew there was a chance that was going to stick around and whatnot. And people say, well, he isn't explicitly advertising. He isn't saying, he isn't coming out of his mouth. But so anyway, it just doesn't look good in this situation for Stephen Amell. I'm not going to pass judgment because I've said before that I don't know the intricacies of what happens within the union and the people filming on sets and all the stuff that goes. I don't know that. But I will say optically, it's not a good look when it comes to solidarity with your union and things like that. It just isn't a good look. And I do want to point out that other people from the Arrowverse have been posting pictures about them out there, you know, supporting striking. We have Grant Gustin here, Daniel Panabaker, Daniel Nicolette, Eric Wallace, other people from the team over at the Flash show out there striking. And I'm pretty sure they're a little bit annoyed by the comments made by Stephen Amell. And at the end of the day, there's really nothing that can be done from us on this side. I mean, you can either choose to support Stephen through all this or not. But lastly, let's wrap it up with what could happen here. So if you are not in SAG, if you're not an actor who is in the union, it is extremely difficult to do anything in Hollywood. Now, I'm not talking about independent movies or off Hollywood projects. I'm talking about like anything big in Hollywood, all the big TV shows for the networks, all the movies. If you are not in SAG, you are basically unemployable as far as Hollywood is concerned. So if you're someone who is an actor and you're doing things like this and you're crossing the line, you're breaking your guidelines, all the things you agreed to do, if you do that knowingly multiple times, you take a chance on getting removed from SAG and not having that opportunity anymore. I don't know if Steven cares about that or not. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's not an issue for him. Maybe he doesn't care about the backlash from Hollywood. But I will say it's very clear to me that he knows the rules because he's stated them multiple times. He knows that he's breaking and skating the guidelines and crossing those lines sometimes. So is he a scab? Is he not a scab? I don't know. You know, union or not, if you're not part of SAG and you're kicked out for whatever reason, it's going to make it very hard for you to get a job in Hollywood, like I said. And if you're not already in SAG, it's almost impossible to get in SAG if you have crossed the line. So there we go. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. Leave a comment down below and your thoughts and opinions on all of this. Steven's response and everything. I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.